Hi, very good morning. It's Dean from Mobsters. Apologies for the video yesterday being a little bit too long, and I realise that a lot of you don't have the luxury of spending 40 minutes watching a video to get some information as to what to expect down the road in the future. And I understand. I'll try and keep it brief. So we're looking at the statistics for the national grid here in Britain. Don't be too concerned that we're looking at just the statistics in the UK, because this is reflected throughout the global syndicate of energy providers. They all work together, they all have their meetings, and they set the prices accordingly. Now, if we just look at the top right, we're looking at the demand since 2012 to 2024. You'll see there's been a decline in around 6 gigawatts of production, and the demand has dropped to around about 29%. The reason why that's happened is because the prices have gone up. I was talking about rationing the other day, but not actually you having a ration card to purchase energy. What they've done is gone around it another way. They've just simply put the prices up, and of course those that can't afford to use that much energy don't, in order to save a few other pounds and pennies so that they can purchase food and other things. It's no rocket science, is what I'm saying. If we look at the bottom left hand corner, we can see price per megawatt, and around 2012 it was at £200 per megawatt hour, and there's been a significant drop in the cost of that, down to around about £65 per megawatt hour currently at present time. What that means simply is that they are producing electricity at less cost, but it's not being passed on to the consumers, and that is not the consumer price per megawatt hour. And this is what they're trying to bamboozle you with, glorified statistics like this. Going back up to the demand, we can see that fossil fuels and gas produced energy is declining over the last 12 years, and we can see that the renewables, green energy like wind turbines, solar power, etc., biomass and nuclear are rising. But the big point here is that we're being fleeced. We're being fleeced for no other reason other than for the big cats to make more money. And of course the demand is going to drop if we can't afford the energy costs, electric and gas. The demand will fall, and it has fell 6% over 12 years. But that 6% represents people like pensioners and disabled people freezing to death, literally. I'm not joking, I'm not using harsh words here, I'm just describing it as it is. People literally dying because they can't afford to turn the heating on. And yet, these are critically ill people. That's the bottom line. And, I said at the beginning of this video, this might be looking at the UK power generation across all sources, fossils, nuclear, renewable, biomass, solar, wind, hydroelectric. It doesn't matter. What is being done here is the data is being corruptively put across to confuse people and to misguide them. Anyone with any common sense who has a good understanding of looking at data like this would work this out very simply. Green energy is not sustainable. If you want regular energy and at low costs, then there's nothing wrong with coal generation and gas generation. Yes, it does produce more CO2 than the others, but CO2 is not the problem here. It never has been. CO2 is, over the last 2 years, gradually falling, and it shouldn't come as a surprise. If we look at the grand cycles of climate on this planet, and I'm talking about the ones that include the interglacial and glacial periods, you will see that CO2 always falls when the temperature drops. And we've been now ever more closer to going back into a returning glacial period, then you should expect nothing less than CO2 to fall, and that is exactly what we see. But the mainstream media, mainstream scientific organisations are not portraying that to you guys, simply because they want to keep the agenda of CO2 going, because it is, for one, the greatest pacification of the generalised public around the world, because they don't understand well, it's not even complex, but it is for a lot of people, the complexities of climate and what really affects climate. They've not even put on the table, the changes that the magnetic pole going into a reversal will have on this planet on the table. They've not put those facts down. They've not incorporated, the increase in that all important greenhouse gas, if you want to go there, and we're talking about H2O, water vapour in the atmosphere, and the increase of that water vapour due to the inbound cosmic radiation through a weakened magnetosphere. They've not even put that on the table and considered that that might be a factor. If you look at CO2 and H2O in the atmosphere, both are considered greenhouse gases, but the one that is more in abundant by many multiplications more is water. And of course, we've got this problem now of a weakened magnetosphere allowing cosmic radiation in, and that is setting up cloud seeding, which allows water vapour to condensate on cosmic particles that are inbound. They've not even put that on the table. We are being run and led by the least likely people that should be running us in this world, and yet we are doing absolutely nothing, and we're talking about just 1%. Yes, I agree, and I completely understand. They have been very smart over the years to capture in their net, politicians, and in doing that, persuade them to go with their policies. And I'll tell you, one of the biggest corrupt organisations on this planet is the United Nations. They're the one that is scraping together $1 trillion a year from all the countries around the world to invest into green technologies. And the money is going filtering down with their friends, and it is only the rich that are pocketing this money on false pretexts. We are giving, not only that, we are giving the medical industries our money. The governments are writing checks for the pharmaceutical industries. They're writing checks for the military industrial complexes. And, at the end of the day, people, the innocent members of public and general public, are the ones that are losing their lives over these things. And that proves to me one thing, and it should also prove to you one thing, that first of all, these people in power have no conscience, they have no regard for human life, and they have no ambitions to improve things. Because if you're like me, you've been watching the politicians for the last 30 years, nothing has changed other than things have got worse over time. And that is the way it's going to continue to do that unless we stop it. If you want to help the alcoholic or the drug addict, then you've got to take away his source that is, making his life a misery, and do the right thing for him. And that's the same thing for these people who are the 1% and the world leaders and the global network of a syndicate of nothing more than gangsters and mobsters that, as you would expect, have no problems killing and murdering people. I'm talking about these people that we've seen murdered in the Gaza Strip, over 40,000. You know what, when you hear that word and those words linked together, you shouldn't just take it like a pinch of salt. You might be sitting there right now this morning eating your bacon sandwich with your family around you, and you've got plenty of food on the table and a roof over your head. Well, that's probably what they had about 1.5 years, 2 years ago themselves, and just making the best of the worst situation of being in one of the largest open prisons on this planet. And you can check for yourselves if what I'm saying is true or not. With regards to that, it's true, 100%. And you know what politicians are doing? They are sending more money, more military equipment, bombs, bullets, aircraft, you name it, whatever countries like Israel ask for, they get it. And we're watching them now, you know, aggravate 5 other countries in their surroundings, almost lighting the Middle East up in flames. What they've done in Gaza is a repeat of what they're now doing in Lebanon. You know, they are bombing every day Beirut. Just think of what people in Beirut have had to go through. You know, they went through that terrible explosion of that ammonium nitrate that was stored in that facility for a long period of time. And an accident led to the detonation of that ammonium nitrate, which caused one of the biggest explosions for decades on this planet. They had to go through that, and now they're going through, you know, a daily bombardment of bombs and missiles. You know, the things you can work out for yourself are very simple in this world. And, you know, if you are of a good standard of person, you will know wrong from right by just looking at them. This is a shambles across the range, you know. And when I see, you know, data like what we're looking at here, fraudulent data that is stacked up in favour of the lies, you know, it makes me sick. And, you know, the only thing within my power is to do these videos and make people more aware of what is going on. And, you know, I hope that people do see the worth in what we do here at this observatory. I mean, we are one of the world's only observatories that is openly relaying the information on the progression of the magnetic North Pole to you guys. No other on YouTube has the equipment, has the ability to do that, and certainly the mainstream organisations aren't putting it down on the table, because it is more sense that, you know, the returning of this anomaly that we're currently in for the last 120 years now is responsible for the climate change on our planet, and not, like they say, CO2 driven climate change. So, you know, I'll just mention the link down there and below, and I'll try and keep this video as short as I can. There is something I want to talk about with you guys tomorrow, so, you know, if you want to and you're interested in that, it's to do with Elon Musk and his water engine, and I think you'll find that very interesting. Probably not what you'd expect, but, you know, we'll talk about that tomorrow. Link down there in the description. Come on, guys. There are a lot worse things you can do than support, you know, a small observatory like ours that is trying to do the right thing in informing people, not just on the anomalies that are taking place, like the magnetic pole reversal, but on a lot of other things as well. So, you know, thumb the video up. I don't know, it might help the algorithms. And if you're not subscribed, why not subscribe? I've never asked anyone to do those two things, ever. And, you know, if you can, you know, and you want to buy us coffee, even a coffee here at the observatory, links down there in the description. You know, you have the best day you can possibly have, you and your family. Only other thing to say is what I usually do, and that is bye for now.